it's just Republicans who have monkeyed around with elections in the past. Sometimes Democrats have too. We've got to have I believe, a voting rights division in the Justice Department that is nonpartisan and that is serious about, investigating cases of vote fraud.
Wow, no wonder people voted for him back then. Let's get a reaction now from Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. He's director of the National Center for Policy Analysis, our friend and a Fox News contributor. Colonel, great to see you this morning. So maybe the difference between the Obama of 2008 and the Obama of 2016 is the current Obama is part of the system and has power.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think it's pretty interesting the president talking about whining. That's something he's been doing for the past 7.5, almost 8 years. But when you look at the integrity of our electoral process, go back and talk to Norm Coleman about the election that he had against Al Franken in Minnesota. I can give you some pretty specific examples about what happened in St. Lucie County under the supervisor of election, Gertrude Walker, 4 years ago, and then also Palm Beach County with Susan Bucher there. But yet you have not seen any type of investigations what has happened in those cases. So again, this hypocrisy of election integrity, when it suits them, you hear the Democrats talk about it. But Tucker, you know that to come into that headquarters there at Fox News, you have to show a voter ID, and to get on any airplane, you have to show a picture ID. So why is it that asking people to show a picture ID to go and vote is such a heinous and racist proposal? Is beyond me.
Of course. But take 3 steps back. I mean, here you have the Democratic Party, which has imported millions and millions of low-skilled labor into the United States, not because it helps us economically. They don't bother to make that case at all because it's not possible to make it, but because they vote Democrat. So why is that not rigging the system? When you import new voters, when your immigration policy is only about increasing your electoral margins, that's not rigging? It seems like rigging to me.
Well, it does. And you look at California as a prime example where now people who are in that state, in this country illegally, can obtain driver's licenses. So what I just talked about is showing a picture ID. Someone can show up with that picture ID and they will be allowed to vote. And you know that thanks to WikiLeaks and some of the emails they've released, John Podesta has talked about illegal immigrants having picture ID, driver's licenses, so that they can be able to vote. So there is a question out there about the integrity of our electoral process. And for the first time, we've had a Republican in Donald Trump that has stood up and pushing back against this system and the fraud that is out there from the Democrats. Right. And we've had the video from Project Veritas, who right now is showing that that's truly is a case in point. And if it were not, then those two individuals on that video, then why did they step down and resign their positions?
It does seem like the biggest fraud of all is right in front of our faces. It's not hidden. Colonel, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks a lot for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, it's being called the single worst cyber attack in the history of the United States. Hackers use your everyday devices like webcams and baby monitors, even your microwave, to do it. Was this a dry run for Election Day? We've got more on that coming up.
Before it became a medicine, it was an idea, an inspiration, a wild what if. So scientists went to work. They examined 87 different protein structures, had 12 years of setbacks and breakthroughs, 4,423 sleepless nights, and countless trips back to the drawing board. At first they were told no. Well, maybe. And finally, yes. Then it was 36 clinical trials, 8,500 patient volunteers, and the hope of millions. And so after it became a medicine, someone who couldn't be cured could be. Me.
The final debate. Chris Wallace got Americans real answers and received high praise. For critical coverage of election 2016, watch Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday.
I just loved being out in the sun. I loved to play Frisbee with Minnie in the backyard. Sometimes she chases it, most times I chase it. About a year ago, I was diagnosed with advanced lung disease. I had to wear oxygen almost all the time. My pulmonologist sent me to the Temple Lung Center. They had a procedure that no one else had. Now I go out for anything. My husband tells me to slow down. I can't keep up with you.
Depression is a serious medical condition. I feel like I have to wind myself up to deal with the sadness, the loss of interest, the lack of energy.
Ask your doctor about Prestique, a prescription medicine proven to treat depression. Tell your doctor right away if your depression worsens or you have unusual changes in mood, behavior, or thoughts of suicide. Antidepressants can increase suicidal thoughts and behaviors in children, teens, and young adults. Prestique is not approved for children under 18. Do not take Prestique with MAOIs. Taking Prestique with NSAID pain relievers, aspirin, or blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all your medications, including those for migraine, to avoid a potentially life-threatening condition. Prestique may cause or worsen high blood pressure or cause visual and other eye problems. Tell your doctor if you have heart disease or before you reduce or stop taking Prestique. Side effects may include nausea, dizziness, and sweating.
For me, Prestique is a key in helping me treat my depression.
Get support and savings from Prestique with the Wind Up program. Sign up at thewindup.com.
It's Ram Power Days at Hertrick Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Elkton. Save over 20% off. Save over $8,000 on the new Jeep Cherokee. Or save over $13,000 on the new 2016 Ram Crew Cab. Yes, that's $13,000 in savings. Now at Hertrick Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Elkton. Check out our massive inventory. Over 300 new vehicles in stock. Stop by and save thousands today. Hurry to Hertrick Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Elkton.
Welcome back. So it was the worst cyber attack in U.S. history, and it turns out hackers used your everyday household devices like smart TVs and DVRs to block access to popular websites across the entire country and for hours. And now some cybersecurity experts are warning that shutdown may be a dry run for a big election day attack on the polls. And here to weigh in is cybersecurity expert and president of the IT consulting firm PCS, Anthony Mongeluzzo. Anthony, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So the biggest attack in U.S. history. What is going on here?
It's a real mess. Basically, it's called a distributed denial of service attack.
Accomplish if we started working together as one people. Flag.
We are live on the campaign trail. Straight ahead.
And an intrepid reporter dares ask Hillary a real question, sort of. Watch this.
There was a WikiLeaks email in which one of your top aides said that a Clinton Foundation conference that's now being labeled by some of your critics as a pay-to-play scheme was a mess of your own making.
I have nothing to say about WikiLeaks.
Answer: Vladimir Putin, Kremlin, Red Scare, go away, I'm not talking. But there was a follow-up that you're not going to want to miss. It's unbelievable. Stay tuned.
It was a doozy. And it might be the most patriotic thing you will ever see at a game.
Land of the free. And the home of the brave.
That is super cool. Chills just watch it. One Singer's new take on the national anthem puts all those kneelers in their place. Stay in your place and stick with us. Mornings better with friends.
No, that did give me chills.
Right?
Wow.
And
Really
I think
powerful.
isn't it amazing? It's come down to that. There are kneelers and standers.
He painted that thing upside down. Pardon my childlike
And no
wonder.
one knew what it was, and then all of a sudden it flips, and you're like, "Wow, that
There
is."
they are in the Marines.
That
powerful.
is amazing.
Very, very cool.
We're happy to see you this
Yeah,
morning.
thanks for joining us.
Pete Hegseth sitting in.
You came back.
Awesome to have
I
you.
appreciate it. You let me come back.
came
That's what
back.
it comes down
Kidding,
to.
by popular demand.
And thank you for letting us into your homes this morning, because we're just 16 days from the election. Donald Trump hitting 3 major battleground states and delivering a Gettysburg Address to unveil his 100-day policy plan.
And that is where Peter Doocy is live outside of Trump Tower with more on Trump's closing argument yesterday at Gettysburg. Peter, you were there all day.
We were there all day yesterday, just got in late last night. But before Donald Trump got into his plan for the 100 days after being inaugurated, if he wins the election in less than 3 weeks, he started off his speech by talking about something he would do right after the election. And he says that is sue all of the women he says are lying about him being sexually inappropriate more than a decade ago, which was new. We had not heard that before. From there, though, Trump laid out a very organized outline that condensed all of the policy proposals he's made over the last year and a half into a speech size. And this 100-day action plan, as he calls it, is also a contract. He basically says that people should look for this document, look at it, and vote for the things on it, even if they don't want to vote for him.
It's a contract between Donald J. Trump and
this.
I've got news for all of the people taking advantage of our rigged system. In 17 days, everything is going to change. In 17 days, we are going to drain the swamp of corruption in Washington, D.C.
And there was one minor change in a major Trump proposal. He has long said that he's going to build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. Now he's saying that he's going to build a wall and Mexico will reimburse the United States for it. Back to you.
Well, the great Peter Doocy outside Trump Tower. Thanks a lot, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Great to see you.
You know, they billed it as a big speech. It was. You have a speech at Gettysburg. You're gonna have some historical characterizations. I know, Abby, you shared some thoughts yesterday. There were certainly earlier this morning some rabbit trails he went down. But if you step aside from that, he made some things clear. He's going to fight to the end. Against his opponents. He's going to, he believes rigging the system is a closing argument, that ultimately the American people feel it's so weighted that maybe you got to go with Trump. And then he doubled down on things like good governance. You feel like the system is rigged against you by people who can get away with things that you can't. And he called it the contract with the American voter as opposed to contract with America. It's sort of this connection that he is the people and she is the establishment.
Yeah, and he wants to change Washington, as we know. He hit on a lot of things that I think, regardless of your political affiliation, people agree with, whether that is term limits. That is a huge one for people. Also, people in Congress not being able to become a lobbyist straight after office. That's another big one. But to the point I made earlier, Pete, this was a speech for him that not only had to come across presidential, it had to impact people that aren't already with him. He already has that 30-40% that will always be by his side. This was about bringing people over that are undecided, that are independents, even Democrats that, as we know, many are not excited to vote for Hillary Clinton. That is the only way that he wins this race. And by bringing up other things, by going down this rabbit hole of mentioning the women, it becomes a very easy headline for the lazy media out there who don't want to talk about anything else to say, well, he talked about women again. And that, as we see this morning, is the title of many of the headlines.
That's undoubtedly true. I do think the Washington argument is a good one. I've lived there my whole adult life. I like Washington. But it's basically corrupt. Why is it the richest city? It is. Why is it the richest city in America? Our entire tax code, Obamacare, every major piece of legislation is in effect written by lobbyists for the benefit of people who can influence the system. Not for you, for them. That's why it's so unbelievably rich. Every one of those Obamacare mandates, the one they tell you going to make you healthier, they're there because someone paid to put them there. Yeah. Like, that's real. So pointing that out, I think, is a winning argument.
And you know what? Politicians aren't, they don't point this stuff out. That's what people find refreshing about Donald Trump. Because he will go there, and he will talk about making those changes.
Indeed. It talks about draining the swamp is how he's kind of put it together, and it's worked pretty effectively for him. Well, speaking of the swamp, over the back of Hillary Clinton's presidential plane, some reporters have been able to ask her questions finally. She didn't ask questions for a long time, and there's a lot of softballs. But one caught our eye yesterday that tried to get at some truth. Here it is.
Secretary Clinton, are you truly concerned that Donald Trump would try to throw you in jail if he were elected? She brought that up at the rally tonight. And one other issue, there was a WikiLeaks email in which one of your top aides said that a Clinton Foundation